You're saying the United States is a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. You live in America, tough guy. You have the luxury of sitting in your little studio with your hooded sweater like you're 17 years old. The regime, you mean all American presidents?
I'm 17
Who's your favorite president in the last 50 years?
Adam, I'm 17 years old.
Who's your favorite president in the last 50 years?
I have a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay, I also have
if you want to make it personal,
other, so you want to go personal?
You have a significant other.
We can go as personal as we can go.
No, I'm trying not to.
We can go as personal as you want.
Respond to one thing.
I don't care, Dave.
Adam, some substance.
I don't care.
Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you thought mainstream political commentary was getting predictable, wait until you see what happens when an online echo chamber collides head-on with cold, hard reality. We are witnessing what can only be described as an absolute media train wreck. Dave Smith and Piers Morgan spent an entire broadcast taking apart APAC Adam from the PBD Podcast, piece by painful piece. Frankly, calling this a debate is being far too generous. It wasn't an exchange of ideas. It was a public intervention. For years, certain pundits have comfortably sat inside their insulated media bubbles, throwing around empty slogans and repeating talking points without ever expecting to be pushed on the facts. But when you step outside that comfortable studio and face someone who actually knows how to dissect an argument, the facade completely crumbles. Adam didn't just lose the exchange. He utterly dismantled his own credibility in real time. Instead of bringing substantive data, counter-arguments, or a coherent worldview to the table, he resorted to basic deflection, personal jabs, and desperate fallbacks. It is the ultimate display of what happens when high-energy rhetoric meets low-substance preparation. We're going to walk through this clip step by step, break down the exact moment the control slipped away, and reveal why this specific meltdown tells us everything we need to know about the current state of political commentary. Let's roll the tape and see how quickly it all fell apart.
Okay, well, we're sort of in broad agreement there. Let's get to broad disagreement, I suspect, which is the way this war is playing out. I mean, Dave, I've really struggled to work out the upside for Donald Trump from the start of this. Doing this so close to the midterms, doing exactly what he said he wouldn't do, which is he was going to stop attacking Middle Eastern countries. It was all going to be America first, a premium on sorting out American problems in America. And then suddenly he launches a war on one of the biggest countries in the Middle East, certainly one of the best armed. And all hell has broken loose, not least to the global economy, which is inevitably going to have, and already is having, a very detrimental effect on living standards for average Americans. If I'm an American that voted for Trump, I'm like, I don't get this. I might in a poll say, I get it, but I don't think I really get it.
Yeah, and then you also have to consider there, Pierce, right? Like there's a sizable percentage of people who support Donald Trump, who approve of the job broadly that he's been doing, who maybe, look, we're 3 weeks or whatever into this, go, all right, I'll kind of give him a chance, we'll see. But if this doesn't turn into any type of win, and if it turns into a clear disaster, which it already seems to be, that's only going to hurt him more and more and more. I think, look, Pierce, it's despite the fact that it is not in my incentives in some way as like a political commentator, like I hope this whole thing just works out great. And then I know that all the people who don't like me will say, haha, you were warning that this would be a disaster. I hope that I would much rather take that deal and live in that. But Piers, the other element there is that, right, we had the 12-day war in the summer. And I've certainly heard, I heard at the time, some on debates that we did on your show and others. And I've heard nothing but since then on social media that, oh, you guys were so stupid. You were warning about exactly what we're seeing right now, which is what all of us were warning about who were critics of the 12-day war. And Iran didn't do that. And they were like, look, we got away with it. One and done. No Americans dead. And that's it. We don't have to do anything else. They spent the following 6 months bragging about how the nuclear threat had been totally obliterated. Now we find ourselves, Pierce, back in this same situation. And as I mentioned last time on your show, the big picture here is that clearly the calculation changed for Iran. They no longer feel that it's in their incentive for self-preservation to not strike back and kill Americans or not do maximal damage. And now clearly with a younger, more radical Ayatollah who has not promised to not build nuclear weapons, they've made the calculation that actually they can't not give us a bloody nose, that they have to really make this cost us. Otherwise, we'll be back in another few months doing it again. And of course, at the beginning of this war, Donald Trump said this was a full regime change war and called for the people to rise up and overthrow their government. And the people did rise up, Piers, in support of their martyr Ayatollah and in support of this regime. I know you saw some of those aerial shots. There must have been hundreds of thousands of people out in the streets in Tehran, in the most liberal part of the country, supporting the regime. So I'm sorry, at this point, this just looks like a catastrophe. And the best we can hope for at this point is that it only ends up killing like 10,000 people, and it only ends up costing tens of billions of dollars rather than the 200 that Secretary Hegseth has asked for. And this all relies on two major factors. Think about this, Piers. It's not just that Donald Trump has to call it quit and declare victory or whatever, but then we got two other entities that are majorly involved in this war, Iran and Israel. Now, we know at this point, Iran is saying they're vowing not to stop. They talk a lot of bluster. Who knows? Maybe they will. But Israel, Piers, we all know they want the regime change here. In the 12-day war and in this war already, they've hit targets after Trump has clearly asked them not to. Who's to say they don't continue doing that? And it begs a real question of how we get out of this quagmire. Yeah, 3 weeks in, we're already there.
Right. So, Adam, you've had a little spat with Dave on social media. When he called it an illegal war of aggression on X, you said, come on, guy, read the room. Dave responded, let's not pretend you read, Adam. To which you replied, I'm able to read scoreboards. You are losing big time. Do you still feel that? I mean, do you still feel that? Because I would argue that the scoreboards militarily absolutely would show that the United States and Israeli combined forces have inflicted enormous damage on Iran's military capability. I think that's inarguable. However, what I don't think has been properly factored in by the Americans and Israelis is the ability of Iran to wage an economic war in parallel to a military war. And that by controlling the Straits of Hormuz and by attacking, as they have done, their neighboring Gulf states, both oil refineries and tourist hotspots and so on, they've managed to freak everybody out and they freak the global markets. And this is incredibly damaging to Donald Trump because every day that Straits of Hormuz is shut, then you will see the impact for the next few weeks and months coming through the US economy and the global economy, but the US economy. You know, when fertilizer, when the impact of that being stopped comes through in a couple of months' time, it takes a while to cut through to the actual people of America. But it will, and when it does, it's going to be very damaging. Do you not think that the longer this goes on, the more of a miscalculation has been made here?
Look, I'm not the Trump is the all-B MAGA guy. Yeah. I'm the guy that was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this Trump guy. You know what? Oh, I got the fake news. Oh, Russia. Oh, it turns out, yeah, you know, he's way better than the other side. So I had to use logic and a measured approach to get me to the point where I'm like, he's the guy. So I'll ask you another question. Let's say Trump wasn't here. What's Kamala doing?
Oh, no,
so
don't get me wrong.
I
think Kamala Harris would have been a terrible president. I thought Joe Biden was a terrible president. And I've always said with Trump, I think I find myself agreeing with some of the things he does and disagreeing with others, which I think is the right way to deal with Trump. I think if you just judge him on what comes out of his mouth...
Well, that's just like with anything, Piers. You're not going to agree with everybody and disagree with that.
Right. Yeah, so, and look, when I came on the PBD podcast, I loved it because we disagree about stuff and you guys come on, we disagree, we agree. We never fall out over it, nor should anybody, right? But on this specific call about Iran, I did say on day one, I think this is a massive gamble, and I don't understand the timing. And I think the capacity for this to go badly wrong is very high. The longer it has gone on, because Trump originally was like, this is over in days, then it's over in a couple of weeks, then everything started changing, then the regime change he said was going to happen with people rising up. None of that has happened. There are lots of reasons for it. I think the reason we saw so many pro-regime people hit the streets was they were not going to get killed doing it. We saw in January when people protested against the regime, a lot got killed. And obviously there are bombs flying around all over the cities of Iran, which will also put people off, I guess. So there are lots of reasons, I guess, why people are protesting or not protesting in certain ways. But to me, the justification for this war has changed so many times. It's made me think, I don't think Donald Trump has any clear idea of what victory looks like. Do you? I mean, if the regime remains intact and they keep their enriched uranium, for example, and they maintain control of the Straits of Hormuz, is that victory?
Well, look, this was not an easy decision. You think, these guys have been in power 47 years. Everybody in our microwave hustle society wants this done in the next 4 to 7 weeks. It's going to take some time. And we've already, I was talking to a good Navy SEAL buddy of mine, Navy SEAL. He said, dude, we've taken out 80% of their military capacity. Not bad in less than a month. So let the guy cook a little bit. So you also talk about, Dave, that, oh, yeah, they had people out there pro-regime. Yeah, nobody's denying that 10 to maybe 20% max of the country is pro-regime. But what about the 80% of the country? That's like if Dave had a comedy show, and there was 100 people that magically showed up to Dave's comedy show. Oh my God, he has so many fans. Dude, there's 100,000 people outside that didn't go to the show. I'm not being like brutish or sarcastic, but just you're taking a small sample size and extrapolating that for the entire country. We all
well, actually,
know
just to be clear,
who this regime is.
Oh, hang on, Adam.
We all know that this is a terrorist regime.
Just to be technically correct on that argument you're making, if 100 people turned up to watch Dave's show, then technically over 8 billion chose not to.
Correct, and that's pretty uniform at this point.
This is really making me feel bad about my numbers on the road.
It doesn't necessarily mean that 8 billion people.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean there are 8 billion people who don't like Dave Smith.
I used to own a couple. No, it's fine. I mean, I actually do like Dave Smith. Let me tell you a Dave Smith story. I actually have respect for Dave Smith, but I realized who Dave Smith is, and I would say this to his face or on camera. Dave Smith is a radical libertarian. Don't take my word for it. You've said this multiple times. Have you not, Dave Smith?
Said what? That I'm a radical libertarian? Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yes. Okay, perfect. So when you're radical, what's another word
for?
I believe in it.
Well, what I believe in is true Americanism.
Extremist. Okay,
this is why you call relative
America,
terms.
This is why you call. Sure. This is why you call the U.S. military the greatest terrorist organization on earth, right? Because you're a true American. Because you're a true patriot. Is that why, Dave? Because something tells me you have what is known as clickbait of the mouth, and you're using these instances, these wars, to garner attention for you. You have the American flag behind you, yet you have the hypocrisy of saying the United States military, United States is the greatest terror organization the world has ever seen. I mean, I don't understand what's going on here. This is why you're radical.
I didn't say
by
the
way,
world.
I tell you what, hang on, just to be fair to Dave, let's replay what he actually said on this show, which caused all the furore, led by Ben Shapiro. We'll play what he said, and I'll play what Shapiro said about it, and then we'll come back to Dave for a response.
The IDF is the worst terrorist organization in the region. Let's get real. The United States of America is arguably the worst terrorist organization in the world. If you want to look over the last 25 years, how many innocent civilians we've slaughtered.
It doesn't matter, it turns out, how many times you appear on Joe Rogan's show or how many times you hide behind your title of comedian who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for fewest jokes told, or how many times you spew puerile analogies that demonstrate nothing but unbelievable, willful ignorance of the nature of war. I'm sorry, but you hate the country if you say America is the worst terrorist organization in the world. You just do. Now, I know that Dave Smith is super duper excited that his name was mentioned here, and he's sitting there shouting at his TV screen in his basement, "Debate me, bro!" To which I answer, nah. I don't debate with trolls who claim that America is the biggest terrorist state in the world because that is idiotic.
So, Dave, as you know, that all blew up. A lot of debate raged about it. Clarify what you meant. Do you regret phrasing it the way you did? Just give us a bit more meat on the bone.
No, I don't regret phrasing it the way I did, and I'll be very clear about what I'm saying. I will point out that it's quite something for Ben Shapiro. Just since you played him, I got to respond to him first. That he goes, "Oh, I just won't debate with this guy because this is so beyond the pale." Ben Shapiro made his name debating 19-year-old communist Maoists who were confused about their gender. So somehow, Piers, we're going to have to believe here that I'm so much less serious than the children who Ben Shapiro made a career debating. I loved your response to him where you pointed out some of the goofy segments that he does on his show. I mean, personally, I really stay away from that stuff. And, for Adam, I think to say it's clickbait or that I just want to get out in front of the camera, I think we're all equally in front of a camera right now. And it's kind of weird to accuse someone else. I very much believe the things I'm saying.
Dave,
now, to Adam's point,
Dave, don't run from the comment. Don't run from your comment.
I'm trying to
address
get to
the
it.
comment, not Ben Shapiro, would you? Good. Let's go. Wrap it up.
No, I'm going to make the points I want to make.
You called the United States military.
You're just slowing. Okay, so
you called the United States military the greatest terror organization in the world.
Adam,
defend.
Just let me answer. No problem. I'm going to go back to the order I was going to go in. To Adam's point, when Adam says I'm a radical libertarian and I say that this is true Americanism, I mean, look, my favorite founding father is Thomas Paine. Not everyone considers him a founding father, and maybe I love him so much because he never held a government position and didn't own slaves, which I thought was pretty cool. But Benjamin Franklin said he was the most consequentialist and the one person most responsible for the United States of America existing. His famous pamphlet that he wrote was called Common Sense, and I think on the first or second line of it, he says, government is at best a necessary evil. So at best, he's like, this is clearly on the anarchist to night watchman state spectrum was what true Americanism was when it started. Now, for me to say what I made the point, and I've made this point a million times on your show, Piers, I'm saying when people come on and say Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, well, just like give me an objective definition of what terrorism means, and then let's apply that standard universally. And if you're going to sit here and say, look, America has given billions, tens of billions of dollars to the IDF in the last few years. We've also, by the way, given a lot of weapons and money here. Your first guest on this show there, the head of the Obama deep state, was using Al-Qaeda, bin Ladenite head choppers on the ground in Libya and in Syria. And yes, Adam, I would also consider it when our politicians lie us into wars that slaughter millions of innocent people and in many cases target those innocent people. I consider that terrorism as well. There's the answer, Adam. And if you want to keep doing this, buddy, you can tell me to check the scoreboard. I'll run circles around you on this, dude. Check the scoreboard. Most unpopular war in American American history going in. Check the scoreboard. 13 dead Americans and 150 plus other wounded. Thousands of innocent, including little schoolgirls in Iran, killed. Dead innocent Israelis. Hundreds of dead innocent people in Lebanon. Millions of innocent people being displaced, all at the cost of tens of billions of dollars and destroying Trump's coalition. Check your scoreboard, Adam. How's it looking for you?
Okay, Dave. So, okay, it's not working well for you, Dave, because
Substantively
you're
respond
still
to any
saying
of that,
that United States. You're saying the United States is a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. You live in America, tough guy. You have the luxury of sitting in your little studio with your hooded sweater like you're 17 years old. The regime. You mean all American presidents?
I'm 17
Who's your favorite president in the last 50 years?
Adam, I'm 17 years old.
Who's your favorite president in the last 50
years? I have a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay, I also have
if you want to make it personal,
other, so you want to go personal?
You have a significant other.
We can go as personal as we can go.
No, I'm trying not to.
We can go as personal as you want.
Respond to one thing.
I don't care, Dave.
Adam, some substance.
I don't care.
I know, because you don't know anything.
Dave, you're a radical.
So move on. So stop picking a fight with me, dude. You don't know anything about anything. You're Pat's guy.
I know.
I like you, dude. I like you.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
I respect Pat.
Dave, okay. Zip it. Here we go. I'll talk now for a second. I'm defending the military right now. You're basically saying that all our boys that go to the military are all terrorists. That's what you're saying.
No.
You're equating that the United States of America, the IDF, are the equivalent of ISIS and Al Qaeda. By the way, I also used to respect you until you went on a little podcast called Coleman Hughes. What happened on that podcast, Dave? This is the problem. I'll tell you a quick story. Why don't you do it right now,
Adam? Why don't you do it?
I'll do it right now, Dave. I'll do it right now. Because here's what Dave is. Here's Dave Smith. By the way, 1% of Americans vote for libertarians every year. So you're trying to basically say that you know more than the average American. 1% of Americans vote for your people, Dave. Why don't you run for something? Why don't you stand for something? You stand for nothing.
Okay, can I respond? Again, Piers, this is the level of substance.
No. Here we go. I'm going to tell you a story, Dave, and then you can respond. Because this is where I lost respect for you as a debater. Because I was like, oh, this guy Dave, he actually knows some stuff. He's doing his thing. And then you showed up on Coleman Hughes' podcast. Piers, do you know who Coleman Hughes is?
I do. He's been on the show.
I've been on the show with him.
Perfect. That's this guy right here, just in case, if the camera doesn't see.
But what is the point you're making?
I watched this podcast. The point is this. Dave gets out there and he tries to bully people and say that he's so smart. He reads a lot of books. Good for you, Dave. But what happens when you run into somebody who's way smarter and bullies the bully? I remember growing up in the town of Miami, so there was this kid that used to pick on all the kids that we went to school with. And one day, some new kid showed up and he goes, oh, yeah, let's go, buddy. Let's do this. And the bully goes, oh, what do you mean? What do you want to do? And he goes, no, yeah, you want to fight everybody? You want to take everybody's lunch? Let's go. And the new kid beat the crap out of the bully. And here's what happened with Dave. He's out there just doing his little podcast thing, debating, like you said, Ben Shapiro, 19-year-old. And then all of a sudden, this whole conversation about Wesley Clark, and I saw him on your podcast about a week ago, Piers, and this memo, here you go, Dave. Remember this memo from Wesley Clark that you used to cite everything?
This is adorable.
That you used to cite? Yeah. That is adorable because your whole foundation is based on some memo.
Well, I'm not quite sure Adam, I'm not quite sure what is the point you're making.
The point is this: Dave has zero credibility at this point. Dave has zero credibility.
Well, you don't really get to decide
that. And he ran into somebody that completely bullied. What audience? The four people that show up to your comedy show at the
Yeah. Okay, Dave, you respond.
Okay. Can I respond now because I listened well?
I mean, the question I'd ask you, Dave, is the way that you.
Well, let me respond to some of that.
I will. Yeah, but I just want to ask you, just on a general level.
How are you going to respond to what Coleman Hughes did to you? There was like a body bag after that debate.
Let him respond.
Well, you ain't doing nothing, bro. You're sitting here talking about what another man did.
You've already been in a body bag, Dave. I'm here to clean up the scraps.
Okay. Let me just ask Dave this, which is, as you know, the comment you made about America being a terrorist state and so on, that went pretty viral. Do you understand why a lot of people got very angry about the perceived equivalence between America and terror organizations like ISIS, like Al Qaeda, and so on?
Yeah, no, well, listen, I mean, there's no question that the head shopping...
I don't think he does, but go ahead.
Hey, Adam, I mean, just let me talk now. I understand all you can do here is interrupt and hold up props or something, but let me make a few good points.
You said that America's a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. Go ahead.
No, I haven't actually, and that's not... You don't really get to decide in the middle of the debate whether I have. It's who moves people more than the other one is really, I guess, the metric. But
you're 1% libertarian. You're really moving people. You're really moving people.
I mean, Adam, I understand this will just be your tactic for the rest of...
That wasn't just a bad interview. It was a total and complete media derailment. Adam lost his composure entirely, completely unraveling on live broadcast. Look at what happened when the conversation shifted to the UK. For months, right-wing commentators have been pushing this exaggerated narrative that the entire nation has fallen, claiming Sharia law is ruling the streets and cities have been completely overrun. But when you ask someone actually living there, someone born and raised right in the West Midlands, the narrative completely falls apart. Are there struggling neighborhoods? Of course. Every single country has low-income areas facing real socio-economic challenges, but framing systemic economic issues as a total religious takeover is a deliberate tactic. It's designed to inflame fear, farm engagement, and push an agenda built entirely on sensationalism. And when you strip away the outrage bait, what were we actually left with on that stage? It wasn't a debate. It was a desperate slinging match. When a commentator realizes they don't have the facts, the policy knowledge, or the historical context to stand their ground, they do exactly what Adam did: bring up past debates, launch personal attacks, and hope something sticks to the wall. This is the ultimate danger of the modern media echo chamber. When you spend all your time inside a bubble where no one ever challenges your assumptions, the minute you step into a real arena with someone like Dave Smith, who actually tracks foreign policy and brings receipts, the entire facade collapses. You don't have to agree with every single point Dave Smith makes to acknowledge the obvious. On that stage, he thoroughly exposed the gap between real policy critique and empty talking points.